Good afternoon, everyone. After this short break, we now gather again for an enlightening session on automobile logistics. May I now request Sri Alok Tripathi, sir, EDFM Railway Board, to kindly come on the dais to kickstart this session. I invite Shri S.D. Chabra, sir, ED Maruti Suzuki, to kindly come on the stage. Shri Ashish Bhatt, MD APL Logistics Vascor Automotive, please. Shri Arun Kumar Khosla, Director JITF Infra Logistics Limited.
I think good afternoon, everyone. Because of the paucity of time, we will start this session. Another distinguished panelist is Mr. Nitin Kulshesh. He is Chief Operating Officer of GetX, India. And now, Shavi, thank you so much. Over to me now, right? So, many of you were present in the morning time also, and we were listening that the rail coefficient in cement sector has not grown. In fact, when I was probationer back in 2003, and I was speaking to the Secretary General of CMA, and I asked him, what is the rail coefficient of cement? He said 35%. Now, after 25 years of service, again I am finding what is the rail coefficient of cement? It is only 25% rather. But here is one sector which is different from cement, and it is very exciting sector. Over the years, the automobile share in rail transportation has tremendously increased, thanks to the stakeholders' participation, and also to some extent thanks to the policies which the Indian Railway has framed. So in this regard, this is going to be a very interesting session. But before I start the discussion on this particular sector, let me give an overview about the automobile logistic. The obvious question is that automobile is something which we associate with road mode of transportation, whereas we are talking about rail mode of logistic for a road mode of transportation, isn't it? It is very amazing. But then, because the railway has certain advantages, the stakeholders are shifting to the rail mode. Obvious advantage is the sustainable logistic, which we also heard in the previous session, that rail mode is very less carbon intensive. And if you shift from road to rail, it is basically bringing the sustainability in your logistic solution. So this is one reason. The second reason could be that for the long distance transport, rail is the better mode of transport in terms of cost efficiency and also in terms of the transit time. When I'm saying transit time, it has certain question marks which we will discuss during the when the panelists would be discussing about the sector. When we talk about the initiatives railway has taken to increase the modal share of automobile transportation, basically you can see that we have adopted two-pronged approach. One is that we want to involve private sector in increasing the share of rail in automobile logistic. And second is railway's own initiative, which are not exactly private sector participation. Nevertheless, we have also taken certain action. So back in 2014, we had come out with one policy which is called Automobile Freight Train Operator Scheme, AFTO scheme, and all the privately owned wagons are inducted under this scheme. Over the years, based on the feedbacks received from different AFTOs, we have also improvised these policies. This is one point. The second point is that railways NMG wagons, many of the people may be knowing that NMGs are the wagon which carries automobile. So our fleet was only 10 rakes back in 2015-16. Now this fleet has grown to 170 rakes. And in next 2 years' time, we are also going to induct additional 100 NMG rakes. So that is the kind of fleet we are also increasing. In addition to that, we have already given approval for private rakes induction to the tune of 119 rakes. So roughly 120, you can assume. And out of this 120, 46 have been inducted so far. Balance are yet to be inducted. So if you put together the entire fleet of wagon for automobile sector, what we are having right now, maybe in 2-3 years down the line, this fleet is going to get doubled. So we may be having right now almost 250 rakes, something like that. And now in next 2-3 years time, we are going to have 500 rakes. So that is the kind of enthusiasm the private sector has also shown for increasing the rail share in automobile logistics. And the result is that our rail coefficient, which was only 5% 10 years back, now it has grown to 24%. This is contrary to the cement. Rajiv was saying about this, and this is where the Indian Railway has also played some role to improve this particular thing. One interesting figure is that in 2024-25, Railway has transported over 1 million cars across the country. And this is the data which I am quoting is from the SIAM data. So this is the kind of excitement this sector has. For railway, it is very important because we have been considered traditionally the carrier of bulk cargo like coal and iron ore and other kind of products. But here is one sector which is basically contributing significantly to balance other good kind of sector, which we call BOG traffic. And of course, we have certain issues also here. We would be discussing those issues. The feedbacks which have been received from various stakeholders, and we have incorporated also those feedbacks in our policies, have also given some result. For example, initially when we had implemented this AFTO policy, there was a concept of registration fee also. Now, based on the feedback, we have completely waived off the registration fee. Initially, the criteria for registration under AFTO scheme was 3 rakes. Now it has been reduced to 1 rake also. The changing market pattern, which is a very important issue, because now there is more consumption of the SUV kind of vehicle. We all are willing to buy SUV kind of vehicle. And initially, the wagons which were designed, they were not capable of carrying SUV kind of vehicle in double stack form. So the per car cost for the AFTOs was increased because they were not able to load SUV in double stack form. So because of this concern, Railway also decided to reduce the costing for such kind of scenario, and we introduced a costing of single stack pricing. So this is another thing which we did. Then of course, in collaboration with the private sector, we have also introduced new designs of automobile carriers which are able to carry the higher height wagon in double stack form. So in one train you can carry more car. For example, one train of newly designed wagons can carry almost 270 cars. 270 cars. Earlier they were only able to load 135 cars. So the per train, the throughput has also increased. So this is the kind of things which are happening in this sector. And now, before we start this discussion, I would like to introduce the distinguished panelist on the dais, Mr. S.D. Chhavda. He is Executive Officer, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. He is a mechanical engineer from Delhi College of Engineering and postgraduate in business management. He started his career in supply chain vertical and has been instrumental in setting up an agile and resilient supplier base. Subsequently, he established the OEM business in India as a part of Toyota Suzuki Alliance and was the project leader for setting up the production of Grand Vitara, which is a famous brand of Maruti Suzuki now. He has been spearheading the parts, accessories, and logistic business verticals of the company. And he is also the board member of BRCL and co-chair of Siam Logistic Committee. So, welcome, Mr. Chhabra. Next participant is Mr. Ashish Bhatt. He is managing director of APL Vascor Automotive Private Limited. So, APL is the largest AFTO associated with Indian Railway, and Ashish is managing director of this company. He is one of the founding members responsible for the company's operation in India. He has 20 years of experience in rail logistics, specifically in finished vehicle logistics. He is a renowned supply chain solution expert, and his exceptional leadership and strategic vision have driven the company's growth and success. Welcome, Mr. Ashish. Mr. Nitin Kulshrestha, he is our colleague in a way because he is an ex-railway officer, but then he decided to quit railway and move to the more adventurous path, I would say. So now he is the Chief Operating Officer of Gatex India Limited. Gatex is a very big global firm, and they have 125 years of experience in the field of wagon leasing. He has extensive experience in the freight sector of rail transportation, including policy and regulations, commercial and operation frameworks, procurement and financing of railway rolling stock, and design, manufacturing, and maintenance of rolling stock. So, welcome, Mr. Nitin. In this particular session, we are going to discuss 3 issues. One is the enhancing efficiencies in automobile logistics, integrating rail and road logistics for sustainable solution. I would request Mr. Chhabra to deal this issue. And then we will have the first mile and last mile connectivity issue, because the railway has this inherent problem. The moment you involve railway, you are creating inconvenience for the customer, in the sense that you will have to have first mile, you have to have additional last mile, and then the extra handling also. So how do we find the solution which will mitigate this issue? Because this makes railway logistics more costlier in a way. So on this particular issue, I would request Mr. Ashish Bhatt to discuss the solutions. And then I would request Mr. Nitin to discuss about the impact of and need for innovative wagon design. They have been instrumental in designing the new automobile wagon, which we call ACT2 wagon. This is under trial right now. So who else better than Mr. Nitin, who would be talking about the design of the wagon? So with this, now I would invite Mr. S.D. Chhabra to discuss the issues.
So, thank you, ED Sahab, Alok Tripathi ji, my colleagues on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. In fact, Tripathi Sahab has made my job easier. He's given such a good context setting that it almost addresses most of the issues of automotive logistics and what Railways has done to really help us increase our rail share. But I still perhaps would have some more requests, and I will come back to you with those through my presentation. So I would also like to thank CTRAM for giving us this opportunity to be able to present it here. I'm, like Tripathi introduced, I'm the Executive Officer of Maruti Suzuki India Limited, responsible for parts, accessories, and logistics. At the same time, I'm co-chairing the SIAM Logistics Group. So largely, I'd be speaking today on behalf of SIAM, but also I have couple of slides for Maruti Suzuki per se. And the topic, like the Badi Sahab said, would be enhancing efficiencies in automotive logistics and how integrating rail and road logistics for a sustainable future is important. So let me dive into it. So I begin with the Indian automotive industry. As you would all know, basically we contribute almost 7% of India's GDP, which is close to 40% of India's manufacturing GDP. We are the largest three-wheeler manufacturer in the world, the second largest two-wheeler manufacturer, the fourth largest passenger vehicle manufacturer, and the fifth largest commercial vehicle manufacturer. So we contribute significantly to the economic growth of the country and as an employment generator. We would really like to thank Government of India for the progressive policies to support automotive logistics. I would especially like to call out the National Logistics Policy with target to reduce the logistics cost, the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, the Bharatmala and Sagarmala projects, and of course, the dedicated freight corridor helping us transport fast by the rail. With these progressive policies of Government of India, today we stand at the second largest road network and the fourth largest rail network globally. The road share of freight movement in India continues to be very high. However, thanks to the Government of India and Indian Railways, the rail share, like Tripathi sir also mentioned, is now progressively increasing. Despite many improvements, the road sector continues to face several challenges. I'll quickly run through those before I come to the rail side of it. The biggest issue on the road side remains the congestion on the roads and including the tolls. Also, the tolling system has improved significantly but needs to be made faster through initiatives like satellite tolling. While the speed of transportation itself has increased significantly over the last few years, it still remains lower than the developed countries. With due respect to our federal structure, there are different regulations for different states that slows down the movement of goods across the states. As one union, we need to see how this logistic speed can be increased further across the states. The rising cost of new fleet is discouraging LSPs to invest into newer carriers, thus delaying the fleet upgradation. Also, because of the environmental concerns, there is a requirement to explore alternative energy carriers such as CNG, LNG, and even EV. Government support will be crucial in creating the necessary infrastructure for these alternative energy vehicles and providing incentives for faster adoption of these high-cost alternatives. On top of these challenges, there is a shortage of drivers, thus hampering the optimum utilization of assets. So there is an urgent need to take driver welfare initiatives, including insurance, healthcare, and upgrading the facilities for drivers alongside the highways. There also needs to be steps for skill development and driver recruitment. Let's collaborate to address these issues effectively. While the road logistics faces these challenges, the rail logistics offers the benefits of reduced road congestion, higher capacity, saves fossil fuel, and is really environment friendly. While many industries like steel, coal have been traditionally high users of rail, the rail coefficient of passenger vehicle logistics is now progressively increasing. My estimate was about 23%. Tripathi Sahab said 24%, so that's even more positive. Thank you. The automotive industry is keen to further increase this rail share. While we try to do this, we are faced with many challenges and request for support from Indian Railways. Let me first talk of the infrastructure-related challenges. We need to increase the utilization of existing DFCs for auto rakes and expedite the new DFCs. We also request for development of dedicated auto hubs and upgradation of existing rail infrastructure, including the amenities. As the SUV share, which Tripathi Sahab very well acknowledged, in passenger vehicle demand is increasing, the automotive industry needs more high height rakes. Currently, there are only 2 wagon manufacturers who have the route clearance, and this needs to be supplemented. Also, local capacities of wheel manufacturing needs to be enhanced. While we seek support for enhanced manufacturing capacity, we need urgent support for route clearances of these high height rakes and ensuring that their freight rates remain competitive in line with BCA CBM. Also, we have some typical challenges related to rake productivity, where we need support of Indian Railways. Currently, each train has to undergo an examination at every 7,500 kilometers. As a typical example, this means a maximum of 1 round trip between Haryana and Bangalore. We would request this to be reviewed and increased to at least 9,000 kilometers as a first step in line with the container train examination, thus facilitating at least 2 such trips. Considering that the high height rakes availability is highly constrained, we need to do single deck loading of BCA CBM rakes. In that case, we request Indian Railways to limit the freight to 50% of BCA CBM. Also, the freight restrictions on various routes and not having a fixed timetable for auto rakes reduces the rake productivity. We request Indian Railways to exempt auto traffic from restrictions and introduce fixed timetable for the same. Finally, to help increase the rail share of passenger vehicles, we request easier availability of NMGs. In this regard, an attractive NMG leasing policy may be a big boost. So sorry, but there are still some more requests. After huge freight rate increase over the last couple of years, the rail dispatches are not commercially viable on many routes, especially the shorter distances. This becomes even more uncompetitive when we consider the much higher damages in NMG rakes. Thus, we request for quality improvement and induction of more high-speed NMGs. While NMGs are upgraded, we also request the locking arrangement to be made better for cargo safety. My final request is related to railway crossing height barriers. We request to maintain a minimum of 5-meter height on these barriers to avoid unnecessary deviation in movement of road carriers. Before ending my presentation, I would like to present a couple of slides on MSIL's own initiatives for railway logistics. As many would know, we were the first automotive manufacturers to have an AFTO license in the year 2013. We have already dispatched more than 2 million vehicles via rail since the year 2014. We are also the first auto OEM in India to invest in an in-plant railway siding at Gujarat, and the second one in Manesar is under development. We are already at a rail share of above 23% and have a target to increase it to almost 35% by the financial year 2031. We would like to thank Indian Railways for their support. Also, we are trying to introduce railway logistics for our spare parts movement through VPU and truck on train. We would request special support from Indian Railways to help make these initiatives viable. Finally, on behalf of the Automotive Logistics Group, for the efficient operation of automotive logistics, we believe that close coexistence of rail and road transportation is important. Government support to overcome the challenges faced by both these modes would help to reduce the overall logistics cost and enhance efficiencies in automotive logistics. We at the Siam Logistics Group would be organizing our Siam Logistics Conclave on the 18th of July 2025 at the Hotel Lalit at New Delhi. It would be our pleasure to welcome you there for more elaborate discussions on automotive logistics. Thank you so much for the opportunity today.
Thank you, Mr. Chavda. I think your last slide sets the discussion for the next topic, because in last slide you have shown about this first mile and last mile related issues, and Mr. Ashish Bhatt is going to talk about this issue. But then one thing which Mr. Chavda has mentioned about the locking arrangement. So in this regard, I just want to inform the gathering that we have requested Northern Railway to do the pilot project for e-locking system on at least 10 NMG rakes and find out the result, and accordingly then we will take the course correction. So we are also aware of this aspect that the security is a very important issue in case of automobile transportation, because you are carrying 30 lakh, 40 lakh rupees worth of SUVs. So any amount of damage in that particular vehicle will make the vehicle useless. It has again to go back to the manufacturing plant. So this is an important issue and we are aware of this issue. We are trying to address this issue. And in this regard, Northern Railway has been instructed to do the pilot project. I have noted down a few things which I'll ask you after the presentations. And now I would request Mr. Ashish Bhatt to talk about the first mile and last mile connectivity.
Who's this?
This one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
If you need to go back, then green for forward, red for back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. No, I'm okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank CTRAM for inviting me to present my views on automotive logistics, especially rail-based solutioning. Thank you, Alok sir, for the introduction earlier. I would also thank the dignitary guests on the podium, Chabra sir, Nitin sir, and all the industry colleagues. I think we have logistics people from across the industry, which makes it a very interesting gathering, so that we can understand the positives and challenges both of industries across. Coming back specifically to talk about automotive logistics, and today the topic given to me was first mile and last mile connectivity, innovative solutions for integration with road transport. What I'll do is I'll quickly give you a brief of what we do so that you understand how rail-based solutioning of automotive logistics happens. This is more particularly meant for people from all industries, and a quick review for the people who are already from automotive sector. The scheme of this presentation would be a quick introduction of APL Logistics Vascor. What are the infrastructure one has to maintain to serve our customers, which includes terminals, which are rail terminals, yards, the stock yards, and operations. How does it work? Next would be the trailer deployment, because specifically we are talking about last mile and first mile connectivity here, while of course the base will be rail. Last but not the least, what innovative synergy of road and rail we could bring till now, and we are continuously working on that, because here we are working for customers who have this product itself, this cargo itself is an elite cargo, I would say. Fresh, factory fresh cars have to be delivered to the dealers, who in turn will deliver it to customers. So I think all of you here would have experienced taking a delivery of a car, it's celebrated all across in our families or in our offices. So you would definitely want something for which you're paying to be delivered on time, to be delivered safely and damage free. So with that, let me take you to the next step where we see how these things happen. A quick background: we have terminals, we have rail terminals at 22 places, where either we use railway terminals or we used private freight PFTs, private freight terminals. Apart from this, we have around 59 circuits in which we work. When we say circuits, it's OD pairs, I would say. So whether you go from a Delhi, for example, for Maruti Suzuki, one goes from here to Guwahati, or from here to Bangalore, as Mr. Chabra also said earlier, or from here to Coimbatore, or you name it, any major consumption center would be connected by rail today. So this is a progress which has happened in the last 10 years, thanks to the support from Indian Railways, where they promoted AFTO policy. They provided support in terms of terminals. They provided support in terms of routes availability. So this is what has happened in the last 10 years, I would say. 2014 is when the first AFTO train started, and as Mr. Chabra already mentioned, Maruti Suzuki was the first OEM to take the license of AFTO. Following their footstep, we as the first third-party logistics service provider took the license to serve this industry as an aggregator. The minor details are there in the slide if you see. So we have yards across country, and we will have a glimpse of what kind of yards we are talking about. We have a technical know-how of, because of our parentage, our parent company is based out of the US. We have an expertise of more than 45 years in automotive rail logistics and yard management. So we have replicated that. We have brought the systems which are globally used. In fact, specifically in the US, where automotive traffic is, rail coefficient of automotive traffic is 70% and upwards. So what we tried is we tried to give the similar experience to our customers here in India, and we'll just quickly have a glimpse a little later. Let me tell you the major milestones in last 10 years, what we managed. So 2012 is when we got incorporated. 2013 we got our license. 2014 we got our first train. From there, after the patronage for our customer, from our patronage from our customers, especially with Maruti Suzuki being there, we increased our numbers from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 15, 15 to 22. So till 2022, we had 22 trains available. We were bullish. We wanted to invest more. We wanted to take the number of trains to a higher number. Then came the constraint, which was also spoken by Tripathi sir earlier, and then Chabra sir also. This is about taller cars or SUVs. So back then in 2013, this rake, this double-deck rake, was made for, say, a hatchback on hatchback, or a sedan on sedan, or at max an SUV on the bottom deck and a sedan on the top deck. So the height was 4305, which could accommodate one car on the bottom deck, which can be an SUV, mid-size SUV, and a hatchback or a sedan on the top deck. Here comes the constraint. From a meager 23% SUV share, today I think we are more than 60% share of taller cars. So what happened is, it started taking more time to aggregate cars, because you always have to work on the pairing, which was resulting into stabling of the trains. That's when we decided not to go ahead with more double deck trains which are BCACBM, but wait for a new design. So of course design will be discussed by Mr. Nitin Kulshrestha after me. But just to tell you, now there are designs available. They are in the process of getting approved. One of the design is already approved. The second one is in the process of getting approved. where it will be possible to take two SUVs one over the other. When we say that, what has happened because of that, for the last 4 years, there were no investments. So the fleet remained same. Now, if this design and the manufacturing capacity increases, which was also been spoken by Mr. Chabra here, then definitely this has a scope. With whatever we have today, whether it is NMGs provided by Indian Railways or the 46 double-deck trains, out of which 22 owned by us, this industry has managed 24% rail share. So yes, there's a bigger potential here. 70% can be done in the US, so definitely 50% plus can be done in India as well. These are the numbers what we have done as a company in the last 10 years. If you see, we have been growing. We have been taking numbers to to next level every year. This year, earlier this year, we completed 1.9 million transportation of finished vehicles. Currently, 30,000, as I think Chabra sir has mentioned, or rather Tripathi sir has also mentioned, that in a year railway did 1 million cars. Out of those 1 million cars, 400,000, which is 40% of the rail share, total rail share, was done by us as APL Logistics Vasco. Going to what I was talking to you earlier about was what kind of setup are we talking about here. So here, just have a glimpse. So these are the kind of yards which you will see one has to maintain. The left one is a west terminal, which is done up at Charodi, Ahmedabad. The land is being taken on lease from Indian Railways, developed by us, and it is provided for our customers, whether it is Maruti Suzuki or Hyundai or Tata or Toyota. Everybody is utilizing the yard. Similarly, you will see a north terminal. Here we use two private freight terminals. One is Katuas and the other one is Bawal. Next you will see South Terminal Chennai, where we are next to the railway siding. Railway siding, of course, is operated by Indian Railways at Melpakkam. Private land is being taken on long lease, and these developments have been done to cater to the requirements of the customers. So the idea of showing all this to you is to show what kind of standards needs to be maintained and what kind of infrastructure is required to provide this service. When we talk about rail service, rail alone, as Tripathi sir also said, it has its unique challenges. Point 1 to point B, you can do railway, no problem. But the problem starts when you do the first mile and last mile and you have to cater it end to end. And this kind of a product requires very, very delicate handling, and that's something which one has to have expertise in. Quick update on the yards again, same thing. These are stock yards from where the billing happens further to the customers. So place A to place B, or factory A to yard B, you take the cars, and from there the clients can sell their cars to respective dealers. That's another model we are doing now. Seeing the operations here. So a glimpse of the train which is available today, BCAC BM, a capacity of 270 cars. You can see the car carrier trailers to do first mile and last mile activity. You can see a car inspection shed, which is a PDI shed, which is provided after every stage to inspect the cars when the change of hand happens, so that the quality can be improved or any damage can be found and the responsibility can be fixed. Now coming back to what I have been given to talk about is first mile and last mile connectivity. So first and foremost, in automotive industry, one must have delivery security, because if a customer is providing you cars, you should be in a position to pick it up at that time. Automotive, you know, is famous for just in time. So there is the inventory carrying cost involved in the overall cycle, whether it's from the time it starts from the plant till the time you deliver it to the customers or the ultimate dealers. Here, most of the business, say I would say 80% plus business even today is happening as cash and carry. So the money is already been paid by the customer to the OEM, and that's when the responsibility of OEM starts to start delivering the cars. Now, of course, there is a finite transit time which has been provided. Purely saying that rail is better than road, I think would not be right. Maybe point to point, for example, from Delhi to Bangalore, point to point, rail can reach in 5 days today, and a trailer can reach in 7 days or 8 days. But that's not the parameter we have to see. We have to see that the cars have been picked up from the plant. Not all 270 cars will be provided at the same time. So there will be a time of accumulation, say for example 1 day or 1.5 days. Then there will be a staging of cars in the yard. Then the loading process, which takes around 6 to 7 hours. After that, the train departs. And then the monitoring of the trains regularly, because mind you, a customer is waiting on the other side. So what you need to do is you need to keep the customer informed. So for example, what kind of innovations we are doing currently. We are providing a seamless GPS update to the customer where their cars are, whether it is from the trailer or whether the cars are at the yard or whether it is on the train. So on the train, we have a live GPS, which after a lot of improvisation, we could manage that without a battery, rather without a power source. A battery has to last for 6 days, 7 days for the transit. So earlier what used to happen is every 10 minutes it will blink and it will give you a signal. So that's not real time. So what we came now to is solar based GPS. So a solar film is put in on the wagon roof, and that's how a signal is coming for giving a GPS report. Similarly, it is integrated with the car carrier trailers. Car carrier trailers themselves are geofenced, which itself speaks a lot about what kind of integration can happen. So if you go to the website of ours and put a VIN number is a typical car number, you can see where the car is exactly today. So today, that's not sufficient. You just don't want to know that where it is. You want to know when will you be able to get it. So every morning and every evening, we have started a auto emailer to respective customers. For example, a customer of say Delhi, or a dealer in Delhi, say anywhere in Delhi, has 50 cars ordered from Bangalore, and we are getting those 50 cars for Maruti Suzuki from Bangalore. Every day morning they get a email stating that this car has reached right now at Bhopal. The train is expected to reach so and so terminal say next day, and from there it will take approximately 24 hours for you to get the car. So you all know this concept. You all get these alerts from Amazon or all those platforms from where you deliver. So we are trying to replicate it for a delivery of a car also, and improvising it day in and day out. These integrations have been done along with the systems of the OEMs themselves. So their systems and our systems interact directly, and they get their feed. So these kind of things have made it possible to serve this customer, because change was never easy. Everybody was very happy with origin being the plant, and car reaches their doorstep, 6 cars in a car carrier or 8 cars in a car carrier, everybody was happy. But once you have to get the change done, which is converting this from road mode to rail mode, because rail is of course efficient when it is long distance. So you need to do a lot of background work, which is also dependent on what kind of IT infrastructure do you have, what kind of swift responses to challenges you have. That's when the integration of rail and road comes into picture. On this slide, you will see for the delivery security, look, you can always say that we'll hire it from the market. If you do that, then you have a constraint of not having the delivery security. You are at the mercy of people who will supply it to you or not supply it to you for first mile and last mile. You can have 50 trains, for that matter, but if you don't have the first mile and last mile connectivity, your service is not going to be appreciated. You are not going to get any business from your customer. This is what we realized very early in our operations. We went ahead and bought our own trailer fleet, 156 of them. We also have 150 long lease trailers. So around 300 plus trailers is something which we control. Apart from that, around 500 trailers is what we take from the market, which complements our fleet. So a delivery security is maintained. Typically for one train, or rather one train set for a trip, you need 15 trailers at the origin location and 15 at the destination for first mile and last mile pickup. Now, here you would see that synergy of road and rail, how we have worked it out. So earlier, one train used to carry cars from one OEM, which was not possible. The aggregation time was much larger. So over a period of time, we worked through with OEMs, where now today they share a train, they even share a wagon for the purpose of pairing of cars one over the other. So you see on your right, from OEM A you carry cars, from OEM B you carry cars, and from OEM C you aggregate cars. This reduces the stabling time of the train, improves efficiency, and at the same time improves the overall lead time or transit time. Now, once this aggregation is done, a load plan is made and the train is loaded. Train goes to the destination terminal. From the unloading terminal, again, what you do is you send it to dealership A, dealership B, and dealership A, B, and C. Here, you can, now this was traditionally done that one trailer is going to one dealer or one city or one OEM's car in the last mile. What I would show you next is, which is a part of the innovation process, is in the same trailer for the last mile, you carry cars for different OEMs. For example, major city, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, everything is fine. You can get 8 cars in a car carrier. But for smaller locations, you go to a Tirunelveli in Tamil Nadu, you will not get a full load from one OEM. What do? The cars can keep waiting and the customer will wait for it. At the same time, the OEM will also wait for it, for its cars to be delivered. What you do is you club the cars, for which an IT system is developed, that how the load plan for different OEMs cars in a car carrier or a trailer basis can also be done. So what happens is, this is how you, what you do is you consolidate cars in a single car carrier for last mile. I'm purely talking about last mile here, an innovation done. Now next slide would be on first mile. So what used to happen was that if you have a train at the terminal, or if you have multiple train at the terminal, and you want to go to, one train has to go to Gujarat, one train has to go to Punjab, and one train has to go to Guwahati. So one trailer used to carry, that's how the system used to work, has to carry cars for, say, Gujarat. One trailer has to carry cars for Punjab, and one trailer has to carry cars for Guwahati. Now you do not have full load. So what happens? A wastage happens, or your cost is not optimized, and delay also happens for aggregation at that level. So to further innovate, one trailer can carry cars of Gujarat, Punjab, Guwahati, or maybe 2 more destinations. at the origin terminal, it gets segregated, and then respective bays are made for those respective trains, and that's when cars go. I'm very happy to inform you we have done 1.9 million cars till now, and not even a single car has been sent to a wrong destination. A Guwahati car has not gone to a Gujarat car or Gujarat destination. That has not happened. Thank you. Yeah. So this is about that. And if you see, the first mile and last mile load optimization happens because of this, and a hoping 96% full capacity utilization of deployed fleet happens. And supply chain efficiency for OEMs also happen. You know, it's very easy. Once your cost increases, you go to the customer and say, my cost has increased. But it's, you know, at the same time, it's your responsibility also to introspect and see where you can optimize, because cost will keep increasing if you don't optimize. So these are the things which on our part, we are trying our bit, and that's when we take pride in saying that we are efficient, and at the same time, we deliver best of our services to the customer. Now comes the concept of stockyard or mixing yard. I think a typical mixing yard is, and I think you would have seen during your visit to the US also, sir. So multiple OEMs, different OEMs come to a train, as we have already seen, and they go to their respective stockyards. This is something similar which I think in the previous session somebody had asked Mr. Mehta that, you know, common user facilities can be provided for a cement plant or something. So similarly, a common service facility is already available. At a yard in Chennai, today 3 OEMs have their respective stockyards. What you do is, you consolidate. Again, what you do is, cars for different cities or different dealerships are being built from there. You optimize it, pass on the benefit of optimization to the customer also, and take the benefit of that optimization in your business also. So what you do is, you take cars from every OEM from the stockyard, which is 2000 kilometers away from his plant. They get the benefit of shorter loads to be sent, and ultimately utilization becomes better, and you save certain costs which can be passed on to the customer and kept with you as well. So this is something which works very efficiently. These are some things, you know, we talked about innovation. Challenges, of course, you know, there are several challenges which Mr. Chabra already pointed out, which we will be discussing during the panel discussion also. But few things worth mentioning here were these, because what it takes to make a solution must be understood, whether it is by the customer or our largest service provider, which is Indian Railways. So we will definitely need a lot of support, as Mr. Chabra also mentioned in his presentation. I need not make it redundant by repeating that, but those are the things, if worked at tandem, can resolve a lot of challenges. This I already spoke to you about, GPS enablement. So a real-time tracking can happen for all the things involved, whether it is trailer or rail. Generally what happens is, you have different systems for different type of mode. Here everything is integrated. Background, whatever is happening, the customer is not bothered with that. Customer needs information, whether it is multimodal, whether it is 4 modes changing or whatever. Ultimately, the answer has to be given to the customer. Next, a very important concept of a control tower. So we have developed this over last 10 years, a rail-based control tower and a road-based control tower, which helps. It's like a helpline for any challenge, whether it's en route railway or whether it is en route for a trailer for a first mile or a last mile. A 24/7 assistance is something which is being provided, which enables the productivity of first mile and last mile. Rail being rail, if you do not have an efficient first and last mile, you do not have a business. I'm being sorry for being very blunt, but that's the way it is. a lot of things, for example, cloud-based application is something which we have customized, which again helps enabling first mile and last mile. For example, for a first mile service provider of yours, or rather mine, is working for me, rather than keeping a record of what he did, how many kilometers he clocked, or whatever he has done, what we do is, like we get our credit card bills, similarly, we generate a bill for them and we provide it to them. It's easy for them to check and come back to us, which creates an environment of loyalty, stickiness for our service provider base also, to contribute to this overall end-to-end automotive supply chain solution. Of course, sustainability cannot be avoided here. An innovative solution for carbon emission saving is what it is, a synergy between road and rail. The last slide of Chhabra sir was about coexistence, and that's what we talk about, that shorter hauls by road and long hauls by rail is to be done, must be done, so that we have a solution which works for years to come and becomes a robust choice of operations. Today we are talking about a 24%. Why not a 50%? If a mode has to be developed, it has to be seen as a primary mode of transportation rather than an alternate mode of transportation. On an average, for the last 5 years, we have saved 70,000 tons of carbon emission. Benefits, of course, all of us know: seamless integration, long-haul transportation by rail, dedicated fleet we already spoke about, decongesting road network, very important point. If rail does long haul, road does short haul, everybody has a win-win situation here, and ultimately minimizing carbon footprint for a better tomorrow. With that, I would say thanks to all of you for a patient hearing. During the question answer session, I think we can talk more about whatever you want to know more about this business. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish. I think it was a wonderful discussion about the first mile and last mile. One takeaway for Indian Railway could be having some kind of warehousing policy so that we can also develop a stockyard at our own land. And that stockyard can be used for as a common user facilities for many automobile service providers. So they can bring in their cars there, stock it there, and as per the market demand, then they can transport. So this is one takeaway for us also.
When you said railway land to be provided for stockyard, it is already being offered at many places. One change if can be made, or an exception can be made. A stockyard, a typical stockyard, needs a GST registration, and that GST registration has to be by the OEM themselves and not by the service provider. I can develop it, I can make it, I can have the infrastructure developed, but railway has to give it on a sub-lease basis. If the sub-lease clause is not there, we cannot use it as a stockyard. It can only be a car parking area, that's all. So if that can be seen, it will be great, sir.
Yeah, well said point. Now I would request Mr. Nitin to talk about the impact and need for innovative wagon designs and investment policies.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow panelists on the dais. Mr. Tripathi, thank you so much for saying nice words about all of us and conducting the session in such a nice and professional manner. I'll wait for my slides to come on, though I can start without the slides as well, but then it will be a little bit of repetition. So I represent GATX. We are one of the largest. Okay, there we go. So my topic, which was assigned to me, was innovative wagon designs and investment policies. So they are very diverse topics. So I have tried to put my focus on the wagon design piece, because I'm sure there are a lot of people in this room who can talk much better than me on the investment policy piece. So I will leave it to them. However, I have tried to touch a little bit of base with the policies related to wagon designing on Indian Railways, rather than actually trying to talk about the investment policies per se. I've stuck to the design policies. So that's a little bit of tweak I've made in my presentation today. I hope it's enjoyable. A little bit about my company, the company I work for, and the reason why I'm talking about innovative wagon design is because of this model that we approach worldwide. So we take the risk of the asset. While we are a wagon leasing company, and leasing normally, refers to financial leasing, where somebody comes and puts in the money and gives the asset to you. We follow an operating lease model where the wagon sits on our books. So the life, for the entire life of the wagon, we own the wagon, and we give it on operating leases throughout the life of the wagon. So it is very important for leasing companies like us to have a very robust design which can last the life of the wagon, because that is how we make money out of that wagon. And of course, related to wagon leasing, apart from engineering, leasing, we do the maintenance of all our rolling stock ourselves. We have close to about 200 rail cars all over the world. Apart from the 11,000 rail cars in India, for the other 189,000 rail cars, we do the maintenance of our wagons ourselves. In India, unfortunately, regulations don't allow us. Technology, and then of course the restoration of the wagon. So we are there in the entire value chain or life cycle of wagon. This is a brief about the India journey. We were the first wagon leasing company in India. We took our license in 2012, and since then we are very happy to say that last year we touched a total fleet size of 10,000 wagons. This year we are already touching 11,000. So a slow but steady growth, that's how I'll put ourselves. We've contributed in design development because we come with a very rich experience in designing of wagons worldwide, North America, Europe, everywhere. So we've been able to, give some suggestions, push some ideas that we got from our sister, organizations, which have been, some of which have been implemented, some of which needs to be implemented. We focus a lot on quality assurance. When I say quality assurance, unfortunately, the wagon manufacturing industry in India is I would say, as best defined as in very nascent stage or primitive stage in terms of its evolution. And we had to really put in a lot of effort to get wagons which would suit the quality standards of our customers. So that's one. That's second. And of course, we are present across all the sectors. So we are not only in the automobile freight train operator or AFTO sector. We have wagon designs under all the schemes like the GPWIS, the LSFTO, the CTO. So we have designs, about 8 or 9 designs that we have in our fleet in India. So that's in nutshell, the GATX India business. Straight away coming to the topic of wagon design, and wagon design, when I have a design team. When I ask my design engineer, okay, I have to make a presentation on wagon design. What do you suggest should I show to the audience? So he gave me a few drawings and a few FEA, analysis, hard copies. He said we can showcase how we identified where the high stresses are, how we did this FEM. So I said, no, I don't think that is something which the audience would like to hear. Probably we would go more into what's the genesis of a wagon design? Why a wagon is designed the way it is? How should we actually look at a wagon design? So a little bit of a brief here. I would not go into too much detail because it will take a lot of time. But these are the major factors as per our understanding. First of all, of course, wagon design should be and should always be dependent on the customer requirement. And this is the first step where we go wrong in India. Because when we design our wagons, we sometimes don't even consult our customers, We sit in our air-conditioned rooms, and I say we because I have a legacy of working in Indian Railways. So that's why sometimes it comes out like that. But designers sit in their air-conditioned room, design wagons which they don't have any idea about where they're going to be used. And I have multiple examples in my tenure of 14 years with GHAX work. I've seen wagons which have been designed not looking at the loading unloading infrastructure. So the loading chutes were 2 meter more different than what actually the loading chutes are there all over the country. So such wagons have been designed. So things like that. So customer requirement is the foremost thing which should go into a wagon design. And of course, the things to look at, the commodity profile, whether we are looking at for a single commodity or a multiple commodity, what is the variance within the commodity. We are looking at, say, for example, steel coils. So you have steel coils which weigh 12 tons, 14 tons, and then there are steel coils which weigh 34 tons. And they are all steel coils and they have to be carried in the same wagon. So how do you make a design which caters to all these things? Or, for example, today the steel coils is weighing on an average 20 tons. But what I hear from my friends in Tata Steel and JSW, tomorrow their average weight is going to be 36 tons. So how can I make my design, more, fit to be acceptable, not only today but in future? Because these wagons, as somebody was saying in the morning, last for 40 years. So these wagons are going to be there on the system for at least 25, 30, 40 years. So the design should be such that it is still useful after 25 years. So those are some considerations in wagon design. Loading and unloading infrastructure, the first example I gave, it has to be really, both have to talk to each other. And towards that, our understanding is that it should be a positively vicious cycle, There should be wagons, it should be designed for the existing loading unloading infrastructure. But in case you can get more benefit out of a wagon design by tweaking or by changing your loading and unloading infrastructure, I think the customers have to be open to those ideas. Because that one-time investment in loading and unloading infrastructure can lead to benefit over a period of long period of time, day in, day out. Because on every rake that you will load, you will get some kind of an economic or a financial benefit. So loading and unloading infrastructure is another very prime reason for which goes into the design of the wagon. Commercial considerations. When I say commercial considerations, I'm not talking about the cost of the rake. I'm saying how you are rewarded or penalized when you design a rake and run it on a system. For example, on Indian Railways today, if you are carrying cement in any kind of a rake, you would be charged the same per ton, per kilometer rate. Whether you are carrying 3,000 tons in a rake or you are carrying 4,000 tons in a rake. Railway will not give you any benefit for carrying more. So as a designer, my incentive for designing a wagon which can carry more is that much less. If railway were to penalize, if railway were to incentivize or disincentivize carrying more in a particular rake, then probably the designs would be different, because then there would be some commercial benefits that will accrue of those designs. So this is just an example, as to how commercial considerations go into wagon design. MMD and plate size is the basic, when we say plate size, it's basically what's the envelope in which your trains can run. And we have different plate sizes in different geographies that we work in. In North America, there is no electrification, so we have a very liberal plate size, or the MMD. MMD, by the way, it stands for maximum moving dimensions. And so we have very liberal maximum moving dimensions. In Europe, there is an OHE. In India now also, they are mostly an OHE. So we have slightly constricted or constrained MMDs. Of course, DFCC is a prime example of having electrification with better MMDs. So where we can probably design better wagons. Speeds and braking distances, these are the other factors, which go into designing of wagons. You would know that if you want a faster car, you would need a better braking, and you would probably need a more robust engine and all those things. Axle load. One point which is missing here is track loading density. Axle load and track loading density of the wagons that is permissible in your system. That also defines, or that also decides how you design your wagon. Manufacturing and maintenance capabilities. So there are a few wagon designs which are made of different material, which are used worldwide in Europe, North America, in Brazil, in Australia, which if we were to bring to India, we'll have to create a completely different ecosystem. So of manufacturing, of setting up the manufacturing facility, and more importantly, you can still set up a manufacturing facility. How do you ensure that it gets maintained all over the Indian railway network? So those are also, some other factors. And the way we evaluate the cost of the wagon is a very important factor. And what I've written as the LCC, the life cycle costing, also determines how you're designing your wagons and what you are actually supplying as wagons. Unfortunately, on Indian Railways, we don't look at that concept. We look at what we call as the L1 concept. At the time of purchase of the wagon, whoever offers the cheapest price, we go for that. Not realizing that we pay for that for the entire life of the wagon. And literally we pay for that through our nose, because we don't encourage good designs, we don't encourage good manufacturing, and we end up with wagons which keep bothering us. Their productivity is low, the maintenance requirements is high, and I think there are examples galore currently on Indian Railways where this is happening day in, day out. So we need to really wake up and look at it. Okay, so I tried to make this design piece more relevant to the AFTO session. So as I was saying, that the wagon designs will differ for various reasons. So here is an example of how an automobile carrier looks in the three geographies that where we operate in. So there is the tri-deck thing in North America, because they don't have any vertical limitations, so they can go much higher than we can. So they can have a wagon which can carry cars in 3 decks. So there is a tri-deck in North America. Then this is our good old BCSCBM wagon in India, the bi-deck, and that's Europe. We can't imagine carrying cars like that in India, the way they do in Europe, in open. So that probably wagon design also should have a factor where we should say, okay, not only the technical considerations, but also socio-economical factors also actually go into designing of wagons. I mean, if we carry cars like this, probably none of the cars would reach our destination. Right, Ashish? Okay. 20-25%. So there you go. Okay. And here is something which I've personally been I've seen it with my own eyes happening right in front of me, right from 2013. I have been with GATX since 2011. So I thought for the audience, this may be an interesting journey as to how the auto career has evolved. We are all talking about the success of the automobile or the AFTO sector, while there have been really good contributions from everybody in terms of the railways bringing in the policy, making it much easier for the AFTO, the OEMs like Maruti and other OEMs who have really contributed, who have stood by their commitment saying, okay, we will carry a certain percentage. Operational experts, like Ashish and his team and other AFTOs who have really been able to, bring efficiencies, aggregate. Wagon design has also been a factor in the growth of AFTO sector. So this picture, I've taken it personally, is from 2014, or I think this is the first BCSC BM rake that was designed and manufactured. I'll not name names here, who manufactured it, who bought it, but this is how that wagon looked. And as you can see, I mean, I've written some problems that were faced. Cracking and sagging of the roof, cracking and sagging of the middle deck, chalking through perforations in the floor led to damage of the floor, misalignment of middle deck, impacting lowering and raising. That's why very few rakes were procured. And I think 3, 4 or 5 rakes were procured, and after that, everybody raised their hands that we're not going to procure. In fact, the entire AFTO, I would say, movement or the AFTO investment came to a standstill after that. So there's a very interesting anecdote which, I don't know, again, since I'm not taking names, I can probably say, GATX was summoned by highly ranked officials in Railway Board and said, why are you not investing in the automobile career? This is the future. We told them, sir, what you are offering as automobile career is not an automobile career. We cannot buy it. Then they said, okay, what do you want? They said, we have given our suggestions to railways, to RDSOs, to Railway Board. We'll request those suggestions to implement it. And to their credit and to the credit of officers, railway officers sitting in the Railway Board that time, they did allow us to do that. And then came the ACBM Design B. So this is the wagon where a lot of thought process has come from the industry, from the stakeholders, including the OEMs, including AFTOs like Ashish and his team, who gave suggestions as to what is the problem, practical problem, and of course, since I am making the presentation, including GATX as well. So we also contributed to the design, development of this. This design, we simply, I would like to say, got inspired by our North American design, or rather, to be blunt, we stole some ideas from there, and we implemented them. Of course, again, when we talk about designs, while I heard some speakers say, oh, we have got those kind of wagons there, why can't we bring it here? But it's a very different ballgame. It's not like a copy-paste. For wagon designs, you can't do it. So while I will say that it is inspired by a North American design, but a lot of hard work has gone into that. We corrugated the roof, we corrugated the middle deck, we made the side post tubular. Side post means on which the wagon, you can see those side posts in the first picture on the left hand side. We changed the chalking of the wagon. The bait was being chalked was through perforating, but we put this rail on both sides and introduced these tri-level chalks, as they are called in North America. And this, I would say, was close to a revolution, if not nothing else. And then after that, this particular wagon design was adopted by the industry, and I think today about 45-50 rigs of this design are running and servicing, and a lot of numbers that we hear have come through this thing. And again, I think we heard it many times in the first session. It was a very good industry effort. Everybody contributed, from Indian Railways to the OEMs, to the AFTOs, to RDSO. Everybody contributed, and the design could see the light of the day. There were some other key changes that were made in the design, which were basically, while they appear to be small, but they really made a lot of impact in terms of safety of the cars. A lot of cars were getting damaged because of the bridge plates. So the bridge plates were changed. I can go into the details, but I think the pictures are, self-explanatory. We kind of changed the way the door edge protection was being put, again on basis of suggestions of the OEMs and the FTO. We also proposed a couple of other, door edge protections, which for reasons were accepted, not accepted. But yes, overall, I think we made a good effort as an industry and came out with a very good wagon design. But there were challenges as well. I mean, of course, you can't get everything right in the first shot. So the challenges were that it was not suited for taller vehicles. Loading a SUV over, if you were to load a SUV in one of the decks, you couldn't load practically nothing on the second deck. You could probably load a very small hatchback, and that too with great difficulty. So it kind of rendered the whole wagon design a little bit challenged. And if you were to look on that chart on the right, which has been said by everybody in earlier speakers, the green part of that chart is the SUVs. Not the SUVs, actually the taller vehicles. So even the smaller vehicles are now tall, so tall boy designs and all those. So this is a slightly dated chart. I think currently now it stands at around 58-59%. So that green portion is going up. So the problem that people like Ashish was facing, as he pointed out, that they couldn't aggregate the cars the way they wanted to, and they had to many times run single decks because they didn't have enough cars to be loaded on the upper deck. So that was a challenge with the wagon design. Then the wagon design was not suited to carrying other commodities which the AFTOs could actually handle, like the two-wheelers or the ancillaries, auto ancillaries, crates and pallets of auto ancillaries. Then the movable deck. Why did we make the deck movable? To adjust the deck to accommodate different sizes of the car. While it provided flexibility, no doubt, but what happened was that moving the deck time and again was an onerous task. And while in theory we could say, okay, you can move the deck and load whatever sizes of the car you want, in practice it was a difficult task. So it often led to very inflexible decision making in terms of what cars can be loaded and what cannot. no focus on the riding index. While all these wagons were being designed, they were just designed on the basis of the current suspension systems, current coupling systems, and there was no focus on the riding index. And for automobiles, riding index is a very important aspect because you're carrying very expensive cars inside, and jerks could lead to damages of the car, and also because the clearances in these wagons are very minimal, 50 mm, 75 mm kind of clearances on what we are working. So anything, if anything, jerks could be very detrimental to the commodity that we are getting. So these challenges remained. Now comes the phase 2. Of course, this I've already mentioned, and I thought that this was probably a good point to again reiterate it, that the policy has been reformed, development of auto terminals, commitment by OEMs towards rail mode, better wagon designs, competitive freight rates, though people in this gathering may not agree, but I think by and large, railway has been very open-minded about this. Focus on transit times, though there are no assured transit times, but there's still a focus, there is always a focus from railways and the AFTOs on transit times, and transition from generic wagon to efficient wagon design. So it's a good example of, how if the railways, and I've been saying this probably a bit too often in the recent past, that it is an example where railway has acted like an industry and not like a ministry. In most cases, the approach of railways has been that they are the ministry, they decide what is right and what is wrong, and others have to fall in line. This probably is an example where railway has worked like an industry, where all the stakeholder inputs have been considered, they have been taken into account, and the industry therefore has grown and continues to grow. Now we come to the part 2, which basically is now the DSDC or the DFC paradigm shift. DSDC, for those who may not know, is basically an acronym for double stack DOF containers, and it's a profile which has been created to carry 2 DOF containers one over other, and there are few tracks already available on Indian Railways where these kind of wagons are allowed to run. And DFCC, as all of us know, is a dedicated fraud corridor. So what DFCC and DFC have done, they have changed this equation. You remember my first slide? So this is from the first slide. They have changed this equation, the plate size or the MMD. So we have now more vertical clearance, and that's exactly what the automobile industry wanted. Taller wagons, taller cars, so taller wagons. So that's something which kind of came in at the time, and that led to, so we now, just in terms of number, we are getting almost 570 millimeters more height in the DSDC profile. So that has led to the development of what we are calling as the ACT series of, or auto carrier taller series of the wagons. And it's good that it's in sync with the changing profiles of the automobiles. I would be focusing, while there's another taller wagon design called ACT1, I would be focusing on ACT2 because unfortunately there's not much public information available, and I would not like to quote anything which I'm not very sure about. So I am just focusing on this design. This is being jointly developed by RDSO and my company GATX India. And these are some leading features in the wagon design. It's mostly English till such time probably we go into the details of the design. So I think this is the key here. On left hand side is the existing wagon design, which is the BCCBM, and on the right hand side is what is we are developing is the ACT2 wagon design. So as you can see in the left hand side, the space available on the top and deck bottom was close to about 1650 millimeters. So which took care of some of the wagon design, automobile designs, but not all. While on the right hand side with the 1922 millimeter, we can even load an Innova over an Innova or EcoSport over an EcoSport, which are really tall vehicles, So that gives us the flexibility. And additionally, with 1920, you don't have to move the deck every now and then because you can practically fit in any car you want to. So there's no requirement of, though The deck is still flexible. You can still unbolt it and move it up and down, but that's more in case you want to carry something which is very unusual. Other than that, you can actually carry any passenger vehicle that is being produced in India today. The other thing that we've been able to introduce in this wagon is the articulated connector. And articulated connector has many benefits and is a very regular feature in wagon designs across other advanced railroad system. What articulated connection does is that, one, just to probably, talking more in terms of how we look at wagons in India, it reduces the cost of the overall rake, because the number of the bogies, the number of couplers, the number of wheel sets, everything comes down, because two wagons are sharing the same bogie and the coupler. So that is one which happens. Second, which is a very important aspect, it improves the riding index of the wagon, because it the degree of, it's slightly technical, but I would like to say that since the degree of freedom is much better, so the way the wagon negotiates the curve is much better, so it gives a better riding index. That's how I will like to say. And the last point which I have written here is conserves energy in terms of you have lesser, so the trailing load, the trailing tear weight decreases significantly because you have removed so many bogies and wheel sets, so you reduce the trailing load. So when you are actually pulling that rake, so you will conserve some energy, you will spend less energy. Please let me know when I'm running out of time. This again, I think I've already kind of covered all this. So it's a versatile design. We have provided for doors for loading of pallets. The floor, for a change is absolutely plain. Unlike our earlier wagon BCSCBM, where there was a hump in between, which kind of didn't allow us to load any pallets or any, anything which is flat. So you can load two-wheelers, you can load pallets, you can load anything that you want related to the automobiles industry. This is just a quick comparison. Don't look at too many things. I will request you to look at these things. So it is a much wider wagon. The inside width is also more, and also as compared to the industry, it provides much more vertical clearance for carrying cars. So these are the two, I would say, key features that the wagon provides in terms of the dimensional abilities. Again, a little bit of comparison as to how this wagon has been designed. All in all, it has got better features than any wagon designs currently on the Indian Railways, automobile wagon, that is. Here are some pictures. The wagon is ready, waiting for oscillation trial. And that is where, I would like to make a small comment on the wagon design policy. So there's a very interesting story again, which has arisen out my interaction with Railway Board and RDSO. So Railway Board came out with the policy called the NWDA. One of the speakers in the morning session also referred to NWDA. So this policy came in vogue in November of 2022, and we applied, not this, we applied for another wagon design, which we are calling an advanced gondola, to railways in November of 2023. And it was, so these are more like, tick box activity in terms of that there is a concept, and if there is a value in that concept, Railway Board gives us a conceptual clearance, and then it goes to RDSO for further evaluation. So we made an application under the NWDA. We were told by one of the officers that NWDA, while it has been implemented, but there are no ISAs right now. So you apply under PWDA. So 2 months after that, we went back and applied under PWDA. PWDA was the earlier, the erstwhile policy for the wagon, the private wagon design. So we went in and applied under the PWDA. The letter was sent to RDSO, and RDSO promptly and duly returned it, saying now the NWDA is under vogue. Please don't send us request under PWDA. It came back, and now it was in Railway Board, and Railway Board didn't know what to do with that, because they themselves suggested us to apply under PWDA, and now RDSO said no, we will do it only under NWD. Yeah. So, so it, so finally the final result was that we got that approval in 1 year, 2 months for actually submitting the concept and taking it to RDSO. While it is not a comment on policy or anything, but we really need to treat, I think, all the stakeholders in a much more dignified manner, because at the end of the day, while we understand that it is RDSO is the final authority, but I think all of us, and especially coming from the customer side with inputs from OEMs, with inputs from operators, I think the suggestions or the ideas that we come to railways with should be given due cognizance. I think that's the only thing I would like to say, and thank you so much. I hope it made sense.
Thank you, Mr. Nitin. I think we have already exceeded our time limit by half an hour. So I know that many of you might be having certain questions in your mind. You can discuss later on informally, but we will have to close this session, and so may I, sir, we will close this session because it is already exceeded half an hour. So over to Chavi. Now you can move ahead.
Thank.
Sir, it's already.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would now request Mr. Atul Sanganeria to kindly come on the stage, please. He can just summarize this session. Thank you.
Sir, in the interest of time, I think I'll just quickly summarize this session. So we started with the overview of the auto sector. We understand it's slightly different from the cement in terms of the rail share increasing over the past few years. That is both thanks largely to the collaboration with the private sector, as well as some of the innovative policies of the railways, starting with the AFTO, doubling of the fleet size, more capacity addition. Wagon, we've seen the journey of wagon design, as the last speaker mentioned, from BCBAM 1 to the ACT kind of thing. Then we saw the changes in the AFTO policy, making it more friendly to the client, whether it was the fee waiving of even having one rake registrations, the costing of the single stack. And then we had a very good account of the APL logistics, the experience that they've had in some of the developed countries like the US, the Europe, and how they are actually managing their entire terminals, yards, operations, including what was important, I think, was the first and last mile connectivity issues, and how they were actually dealing with it, both in terms of the aggregation that is required, both from the first mile side, from the OEM side, as well as the last mile, which is the delivery to the dealership, and trying to kind of see how to optimize that, in terms of the routes, in terms of the cargo, mixed cargo being carried. Also, not to forget our distinguished panelist from Maruti Suzuki, how he mentioned about the infra challenges, the productivity and the operations, and what needs to be done to kind of improve those aspects. And I think last but not the least, the wagon design and the entire evolution of wagon design was explained very well by sir, and how that has actually helped in the entire demand of SUVs in our country improving, and kind of looking at taller cars and how that could be kind of accommodated going forward. So we'll be taking all these into consideration, interacting very closely with the OEMs, the transporters, the wagon designers, and also with the Indian Railways and the stakeholders to come up with the way forward. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. I will now request Sri Alok Tripathi sir to kindly felicitate our speakers. Sri S.D. Chabra, ED, Maruti Suzuki. Shri Ashish Bhatt, MD, APL Logistics, Vascor Automotive. Shri Nitin Gulshrestha, Gatex. COO, Gatex. Thank you. We'll just take a short break of 5 minutes. If anyone wants to freshen up, please. Thank you. May I request all of you to kindly be seated? We are now starting with our session on cargo aggregation and BOG, for which I would request Sri Sanjay Swarup, CMD Concor, to kindly come on the dais to introduce the speakers. I would request I would invite on stage the speakers, please. Shri Sumit Sharda, Head of Transportation, Amazon. Shri Balbir Singh Bhalla, Head Supply Chain, South Asia, Nestle. Shri Shobhit Bhatnagar, Director Operations and Business Development, DFCCIL. Shri Sanjay Gupta, MD AVG Logistics. Shri Manish Puri, President ACTO. I would request Sanjay sir to kindly introduce our speakers, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last technical session. It's very interesting and quite relevant for Indian Railways. I will just present 2-3 slides and set the context. It's titled Cargo Aggregation and BOG. BOG means Balance of Other Goods. Next slide, please. This shows the total freight ecosystem of our country in 2021-22. As you can see, balance other goods comprise of the almost 50% of the total freight that is moving in our country. That is out of 5,443 million tons. Balance other goods comprise of 40% of that, which is 2,153 million tons. And there are other commodities like coal, which comprise 19% of the total freight that is moving in our country. Then there are containers, 5%, iron and steel, 3%, POL, 6%, raw material for steel plants, 8%. So these are the various commodities. Next slide, please. Now, this slide shows the rail coefficient of various commodities in the freight basket. As you can see, BOG, which is the largest commodity which is moving in our country, as we saw, it is 40% of total freight. The rail coefficient is only 6% of this, that is 2,153 million tons. Out of that, only 6% is moving by rail. Rest 94% is moving through other means. Coal, which is the main commodity that is moving by rail. Coal comprises almost 50% of total freight loading of Indian Railways. In that, Indian Railways has got 64% rail coefficient of the total coal that is moving. Then these other container only 25%, food grain 23%, fertilizer 80%. So now this is a very important point for us to ponder, that how Indian Railways should increase the diversification in its commodities that they are carrying. And BOG gives it a very big opportunity to increase the rail coefficient. And next slide, please. So this is the freight loading that was done by Indian Railways in this financial year which has closed, that is 24-25, 1,617 million tons. And in this also we can see that coal comprises 51% of total loading, and BOG is still 8% only. So it is, after 3 years also, the trend is more or less same, from 6% to 8%. So BOG only has the potential to help railways achieve the target of 3,000 million tons by 2030. So this session will primarily focus on how Indian Railways should capture BOG and how cargo aggregation will help Indian Railways to capture this particular commodity. We have a very, very distinguished panel comprising of eminent speakers. I will just give you a formal introduction of all the speakers. Mr. Sumit Sharda, who will be the first speaker. He is based in Bangalore, currently General Manager Operations at Amazon. Mr. Sharda brings experience from previous roles at Amazon, and he holds a Masters of Business Administration in Operations and Finance from Indian School of Business, with a robust skill set that includes project management, strategy, new vendor development, logistics, sales, and more. Mr. Sharda is a very distinguished personality and a very, very suitable speaker to speak on this subject. Our second speaker will be Mr. Balbir S. Bhalla, who is working as Head of Distribution and Exim for SAR region at Nestle. And he is having a very good experience in transportation, hub lead for SAR region, regional supply chain head, logistics development manager, and logistics manager in Nestle, business operations manager, country depot organization manager, and he has also worked in HP and LG Electronics, so he has a very, very varied experience. And he is a graduate from University of Pune, and then he has done his MBA marketing also from Pune University. So we will hear the views of Mr. Bhalla, and that will be very interesting. Our next speaker, third speaker, will be Mr. Shobhit Bhatnagar, who is working as Director's Operations and Business Development at DFCCIL. Shri Shobhit Bhatnagar is an officer of 92 batch of Indian Railway Traffic Service, and he has joined DFCCIL as Director Operations and Business Development in February 2024. And he is a bachelor's degree in engineering, that is computer science, from Indore. He has a very large stint in Indian Railways, where he held several important key posts like Principal Chief Operations Manager, North Central Railway, Group General Manager, DFC. He was also in Concor. Then he worked as CPTM and CFTM, Northwestern Railway, Jaipur, CFTM, Northeastern Railway, Gorakhpur. He has also worked as Director at Ministry of Railways in Computer and Information Systems. And he was part of Central Railway that developed the prototype of FOIS of Indian Railways in 1999 and 2000. In DFCCIL, his job includes business development, including GST terminals and PFTs, MMLPs, track access charges, and procedure for raising it, identification of insurance needs of DFCCIL, and corporate communication. So he's a very gifted officer. We'll hear his views in the session. Our next speaker is the fourth speaker, Mr. Sanjay Gupta. He's a seasoned logistics leader, bringing over 35 years of profound expertise to the industry, and with an extensive experience in multimodal logistics management. He possesses a wealth of knowledge in warehousing and logistics operations. He is proficient in strategic thinking, route planning, and scheduling tailored to business needs. In his role as Managing Director and CEO of his company, AVG Logistics, Mr. Gupta exemplifies a customer-centric approach, leveraging his strong strategic acumen and exceptional interpersonal skills. So we will be lucky to hear him also later in the session. Last but not the least, Mr. Manish Puri he will be the final speaker, fifth speaker. He is currently working as President of Association of Container Train Operators, Managing Director of Rail Runner Innovations, and Director PwC Independent Advisor. He is wearing 3 hats now in today's date. His functional experience is in rail, ports, logistics and containerization, consulting, operations, planning, management and control. Mr. Puri is a Master of Economics from JNU Delhi and Bachelor of Economics from St. Stephen's College, Delhi. He began his career as a lecturer of economics at Delhi University and then joined IRTS through Civil Services Examination 1989. And while in government, he worked on freight operations on Delhi Division and Muradabad Division, and also spent 5 years in Concor. He joined private sector in 2003 and subsequently worked in companies like P&O Ports, Transworld, Dubai, Box Trans Logistics, and APL Logistics, India Links, spending over 6 years in the CEO position at India Links. And he also works as consultant in the area of logistics and infrastructure, advising large conglomerates and the government of India. So Mr. Puri is a very, very experienced and very articulate speaker. You must have heard him earlier also, at least I have heard him on many occasions. So we will get benefit of getting his views on this subject today. I will now invite Mr. Sumit Sharda to please come and share his views.
Good evening, everyone. As introduced, I'm Sumit. I head transportation services for Amazon India. I'm very glad to be speaking today on optimizing cargo movement, aggregation strategies, and key corridors. I would firstly like to extend my warmest greetings to my fellow panelists as well as all the eminent and business and economic leaders present in this august gathering today. As earlier presented, out of the total volume of freight transported across our country, close to 60 to 70% is contributed by bulk, while the remaining 40% accounts for BOG. Bulk commodities, as mentioned earlier, includes coal, cement, iron, steel, petroleum, and other such products. And then there are non-bulk goods that comprises a broad array of products, such as e-commerce goods, consumer goods, paper products, automotives, and other products from the agriculture. As was presented earlier in the presentation, almost 90% of the non-bulk freight is currently today transported by road. This is in stark contrast to other developed countries where almost 2/3 of the non-bulk freight today is moved by rail and rest is transported through other means, primarily using rail or rail intermodal systems. This presents a significant opportunity for Indian Railways to capture a greater share of the non-bulk segment through a modal shift. Now, traditionally, the railways has been tailored more towards bulk movement, and these goods have lesser time pressing constraints and are more suitable for a non-scheduled movement where accumulation is the key. Given the ability of transporting commodities in bulk, it is a great facilitator for movement of goods in bulk category like coal. Development of DFC has also been a great enabler in the movement of bulk goods, given the connectivity between north to west and north to east corridors and vice versa. There is an opportunity to focus on the parcel segment within the non-bulk goods. The e-commerce parcel segment encompasses goods that are volumetric, that are more time sensitive, offering a promising area for growth with increased modal share. Now, if we look at the last 10 years, the e-commerce industry in India has witnessed remarkable growth, driven by factors such as increased internet access, smartphone penetration, changing consumer preferences. This growth has contributed significantly to economic development in more ways than one, including employment generation, entrepreneurship, digital payments, market access, infrastructure development, innovation and technology, to name a few. There has also been substantial increase in purchasing power, which has enabled more of the consumer goods and is only likely to go up in years to come. The vision and focus of government and railways on logistics and infrastructure development has significantly helped the e-commerce industry achieve the sustainable growth and maximize its positive impact on the growth story. Our own experience has demonstrated that engagement with railways initiatives and meaningful partnership ensures sustainable and inclusive growth, boosting the digital economy in India. For the parcel and e-commerce segment to grow and extend to all parts of the country, the key requisites are reliability of operations, speed of delivery, optimum cost, and continuous flows of information to enable planning. These major prerequisites to increase transportation, as we mentioned, for balance of goods through rail, is aggregation. The demand is scattered and requires daily regular movements. Due to this, it is less likely that a single entity to supply a load for a 20 to 24 van parcels on a single route. Aggregation thus enables logistics and cost optimization by increasing economies of scale. It also enables better multimodal logistics planning. I shall quickly dwell on the models of aggregation that can help in enabling an increase in the movement of balance of goods through rail. With the growth of e-commerce sector, it is encouraging to see that railways focus on expanding the virtual aggregator platform, which has enhanced visibility and booking capabilities and ensured a more democratized process so all stakeholders can benefit from the incredible connectivity and sustainable transportation opportunity through the rail network. This has been a path-breaking initiative which has enabled transparency of rates with a facility to pre-book VPs by all stakeholders. In addition, the ongoing work and focus to build a hub and spoke model at DFC will further prove to be economical and sustainable mode of transporting goods. For example, building a hub at Rewari for consolidating van parcels from the west corridor of Ahmedabad, Surat and Mumbai towards the east corridors of Patna, Kolkata and Lucknow. There can also be an opportunity to seamlessly integrate with Indian Railways lanes for leveraging the regional rail network connectivity. Now, in order to further strengthen the hub and spoke model, there has to be SLA-based VP handovers along with assured times of movements on both DFC and IR corridors with tracking mechanisms enabled for the van parcels. As we look forward, technology will be a key enabler, and I would like to congratulate Railways for implementing online booking on WAP. Alongside some of these enhancements can further help increase cargo efficiencies. To start off with, enabling online payments for parcel in parity with freight. Systematic cargo flow management at sidings to improve operators' experience. For the parcel movement, mechanized handling at sidings to streamline operations could be a large enabler. Warehousing facilities and regulated cargo flow to enable smoother railway operations is another enabler. Improving visibility on connection times and retrieval turnarounds is one of the other key factors for timely movements of parcel goods. Containerized movement for parcel can also reduce multiple handlings which are currently today in van parcels. While container cargo is currently focusing more towards bulk goods, expanding availability of containers and creating specific pricing for express parcel logistics could further be a large enabler of growth for both DFC as well as railways. Our collaboration with Indian Railways started back in 2019. At that time, organized e-commerce shipment movements weren't a practice. We started out with exploring the use of railway capacities to transport customer packages, and that exploration, innovative thinking, and progressive approach of the Indian Railways has today become a well-established model for the industry at large. We were the first e-commerce company in India to carry parcel wagons on Rajdhani, and today I'm proud to say that one-day and two-day deliveries via rail are an India-first initiative with no global precedence at Amazon. When we started, we were operating with 2 lanes in 3 cities with close to 2 trains. Today, we serve 1-day and 2-day deliveries in more than 100 cities, and Amazon customer shipments are moving daily in more than 100 trains. I'm elated to share that we have further strengthened our association by once again being the first e-commerce company to leverage dedicated freight corridors. We have already started operations on the dedicated freight corridor on the 1,000-kilometer long Rewari-Sanand route. As the DFC network grows over the next years, we will add and utilize new routes and capabilities. We have also partnered with Railways on virtual aggregation platform project and have gone all out to enable success of the same. We continue our partnership with Indian Railways and endeavor to increase e-commerce volumes being transported across the country through Indian Railways. We are hopeful that the share of parcel good movement through rails will increase with time, and industry will benefit from the various initiatives aimed at our country's logistic infrastructure and commitment to boost economic growth and make India's supply chain globally competitive. Over the last few decades, India's logistics sector has experienced phenomenal expansion, and we are excited to be a partner of an esteemed and future-ready organization such as Indian Railways. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharda. I will now request Shri Balbir Singh Bhalla, Head Supply Chain South Asia, Nestle, to kindly present his views.
Firstly, let me correct that I'm not head of supply chain. I'm head of distribution, imports and exports as well. Otherwise, my boss will hear and he'll ask me, okay, when did you took over from me? Okay, so I have been given topic on digitalization, which is very, very important. And today when we look at India, it stands as a beacon of digitalization. And it's a very interesting space to be in, because you have, shipments getting delivered in 10 minutes, and then you have shipments getting delivered in 10 days. So these are two, radical things. So as a supply chain, what we need to do is we need to embrace digitalization. We need to embrace technology, because it's very, very important. And especially when we talk about our complex operations, because India, when we talk about logistics, is not easy. It's not easy. When we talk about our ecosystem, we have close to 9 factories, we have 29 distribution centers, we have 13 co-manufacturing locations. So you can imagine, what kind of planning it goes into, and then logistically it is very, very difficult. So what you need to do is, when we started our transportation digitalization journey, so 5 things we kept in our mind. These were very, very important. The first one is to increase service levels, because today your customer demands, agility. Your customer demands, order in full. It demands that, you have to deliver come what may. So one is, that is very important, is increase service levels. And secondly is, how are you going to optimize cost? Rather, I was given a parameter that you need to reduce cost. I always believe in that reduction is not there, it is always optimization. Because reduction is a subset of, optimization. And third is where India is struggling big times, because 80% of our business is towards our conventional trade, which we call it general trade. Because it's been only 5 years where, e-commerce, quick commerce, they have been rising, but largely when we talk about our industry, FMCG industry, that is dependent on conventional trade, which is 80% of the business. Now for them, it is very important to provide visibility to them, because today we have taken them for granted. We were not providing any visibility to them, because when we talk about metro cities, so we all know that manpower is a big, big challenge. They need to ensure that people come, and you cannot make them idle, sitting, especially cities like Mumbai, Calcutta, where you have challenges of no entry. And third is, how are you going to make sure that you have sustainable operations, where you have a target, and all the multinationals companies, and Nestle is no exception, where we have taken a target of net zero emission by 2050, and by 2030 it is going to be 30%. And I'm very proud to share that we have already reduced 20% of our carbon emission reduction. And we talk about India in last 5 years, if I'm not wrong, my transportation lead is also here. We have reduced close to 40,000 emission tons, K tons, so which is a huge number. Now, how we have been able to achieve this number? We have been able to achieve this number by digitalization, by optimization. And if you ask me, what is the true enabler? The true enabler is definitely partnerships, digitalization, and you need to have the right skill set, the people. When we talk about digitalization, the expectation from everyone is that, it will revolutionize very next day. No, it is an evolution. It will never become revolution, never, because it takes your years and years, and then, it's like continuous improvement. You need to know that what is that we need to do in the value chain, which helps your customers, which help your external customers, your service providers. So today, when we talk about transportation, back in 2019, we were completely working on manual, completely. All our indents, all our planning, everything was manual. And if you talk about efficiency, there was no efficiency. It was just that we need to deliver this shipment, and we were not bothered about, I'm not saying we were not bothered about the cost, because cost for FMCG, it is always important. But at the same time, our focus was on customer order fulfillment. But now, with 5 years passed by where we have embraced technology, I am proud to share that 95% transportation today in Nestle India is completely on digital, Right from indent management, how this is going to our warehouses, how this is going to our service providers, so everything is digitalized. Now, when we talk about our volumes, we move close to, if I'm not wrong, close to 450,000 trucks in a year, which is a very big number. And if we talk about railways, so railways, we do close to 35,000 tons in a year. And our association with railways has long back in 1991, when we started our factory was incepted in Moga in 1961. In 1991, we were the first company to have its own siding. And we were doing a lot of business with Concor. And yes, we definitely require your help. But in this forum, what I would like to share with railways and with Concors is that for FMCG company, the pressure on working capital is huge. So gone those days where we were able to form the loads. So load formation was never an issue at that point in time, but today it's a big issue because you need to manage capital, working capital. At the same time, when you look at our ecosystem, the order size of the customers have drastically changed. Because earlier what was happening, they were carrying inventory of 15 to 16 days because they were never sure about the supply chain, whether they will get the material on time or not. But today they know that a lot of efficiency has come into supply chain. So no one wants to hold inventory more than 5 to 6 days. So it becomes very challenging for us that how we are going to ensure that we have a very effective and very efficient supply chain. And how we are going to do that is definitely through partnerships. And partnerships is not only with service providers. Partnership is with our co-FMCG industry, with other players, because for them, they are also struggling with the same thing. Now, what I have seen in the developed markets, there is a aggregation, rates are floated on a daily basis where how much, you can secure your loads. But in India, I'm sorry to say that we do not have any such platform. Why we do not have such platform? Because we are not talking to each other. Like, we are not talking to Hindustan Levers, we are not talking to Amazons of the world, but time has come where we need to share data because it's important. Otherwise, railways, for them, I can understand, you cannot, deliver 5 or 6 loads or container loads. It becomes challenging for them as well. But as an industry, if we all come together, we can definitely address this issue. And I can vouch for that. Every FMCG company which is struggling big time when it comes to dependency on road, because we know that in today's scenario, for every 100 trucks, there are only 75 drivers. And in next 2 years, it is going to be 60. So what you need to do, you need to shift towards alternate mode, which is like railways. Today, the dependency on road is 95%, which is huge. And at the same time, the biggest challenge for road is, road safety of the people. Because India is a country which contributes close to 11% of the global road fatalities, which means every single day, there are continuously 200 to 250 deaths on a road. So which means we have a larger responsibility, not only to optimize costs, but at the safety of the people as well. Now talking about digitalization, we have done digitalization in road safety as well, because today all our vehicles, they are equipped with AI dash cams. And why we wanted to do that? We wanted to do that for two reasons. One is that we definitely care for people on the road. And secondly, we care for the drivers. And I'm proud to share, when it comes to our distribution centers, what we have done is we are ensuring that these drivers, where availability is becoming a big concern, we are providing restrooms to them. And through technology, we know how many drivers are going to be in that distribution centers, how many shipments we will have. So that's the power of digitalization. One is that you can take care of the well-being, you can take care of your cost, and at the same time, you can delight your customers. Now, when we talk about Blinkits of the world, so one fine day, their supply chain head came to our office and he asked us that you are delivering us in 3 days, whereas we are delivering in 10 minutes. So what kind of efficient supply chain you have? It was thought-provoking that yes, we need to do something, because gone those days where you are delivering shipments, after 48 hours or 72 hours, because order processing itself takes, greater than 24 hours, because you will wait for the remittance of funds and all that. So, and in last 2 months, it was there in the newspaper as well. So we were the first FMCG company which started same-day delivery. Now, if you ask me, how can you do this? You can do only through this by digitalization, when your systems are talking to each other. But at the same time, my humble request to everyone is that when we talk about digitalization, don't expect, it is going to revolutionize next day. No, it is not going to happen. You have to challenge the status quo. You have to deep dive into it, that what are the constraints. One interesting thing I would like to share is that when it comes to reefer vehicles or controlled temperature vehicles, there is a scarcity of those vehicles. And since we are in supply chain of chocolates, it becomes paramount for us that we always have to secure placement of those vehicles. And how do we secure placement of those vehicles? Because we have dedicated. And one of our service providers is also here. So we came up with the idea that we have all the tools which are static in nature. They are not dynamic, which means I don't know what is going to be my indent for next 3 days or 4 days, depending upon the order forecast. So we tied up with one startup where we came up with the idea that, it's very important for us to keep our vehicles running. Because if your vehicles are not running and if you are short of those vehicles, you have to acquire these vehicles on the spot rates. And spot rates are very, very expensive. So we started with this concept of vehicle scheduling. Believe you me, when we started, it was merely at 15%, and today we are at 95% accuracy. Which means we have eliminated all the people, those who were calling them, asking them, where is my vehicle, when this vehicle is going to come, and then looking at the orders. So everything is digitalized. So that's the power of digitalization. And when it comes to aggregation, now you all will be surprised to know that in India, 30% of the vehicles, they wait for the idling. And idling can be as high as 4 days, 3 to 4 days. So what is the responsibility of every organization or railways or Concors or all the big transporters is that we need to create a platform where freight rates are available, where you can secure your placement. And there are many platforms which exist globally. But yes, I'm very sure, because if India can't do it, no other country can do it. But I'm sure with companies, talking to each other, we can definitely create that ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhalla. for your enlightening talk. Now I will request Mr. Shobhit Bhatnagar, Director DFCCIL, to kindly present his views.
So good evening to you all, and it's indeed my pleasure to be here today, and I thank CTRAM for inviting me here to be part of this August gathering. Now, I'm supposed to talk about the cargo aggregation in the industry or in the market, but I would say that all the attempts that we find at cargo aggregation, they are all originated at Railway Board. So, I mean, the most outstanding out of these has been the JPP RCS policy of the Joint Parcel Product Rapid Cargo Service, which is for the VP wagons. But on DFCCIL, I would say that we have made some honest attempts, humble attempts at starting this service. And with the NMGHS wagons that we had, about 30 of them allotted to us. And of course, the partners have been Amazon, mainly Amazon, and there have been some loadings from the others also. But after having tested all these, the patronization has been a bit limited. So now the basic disadvantage which we have with the NMGHS is that it is rated at scale P plus 20%, while in the JPP RCS, I mean, the rates go below the scale P. So that's where we hope to do and hope to introduce this policy and expand our partnership with the Amazon, and we definitely look forward to it, because very soon the DFCs would be getting, Western DFC would be getting up to Kharbao, which is close to Bhiwandi, which is the logistics hub for the Mumbai city, while we are already operating from Rewari, which is again, I mean, close to Taudu, which is the logistics hub for Delhi area. So Delhi Mumbai, Delhi Ahmedabad, this is the segment which we are looking forward to connecting through the NMG wagons or through the VPs, through the JPP RCS policy, if that is granted to us. So now, but before going ahead, I would like to give a very quick update on what is happening on DFC, and to just present the case why all these experiments can be done on DFC. So next, please. So now, Eastern DFC, I mean, this was about 1337 kilometers. It has been completed. Western DFC, now just 102 kilometers left out of the 1506 kilometers. And that is the last leg towards JNPT, which is remaining. Of course, there was another area that was from Sonnagar to Dankuni that was supposed to be done on the PPP model. But out of that 367 kilometers, Sonnagar to Andal, that is being constructed by the construction departments of East Central Railway and the Eastern Railway, but the last section of about 59 kilometers, that has been put on hold. And this is how the number of trains, daily trains on DFCs have been increasing. I mean, this is the 5th year of operations, and it's about 356. That was the average number of trains per day last year. This is just month-wise. So in the March, it was 403 trains per day on both the DFCs put together. And now, just to give an idea of the commodity-wise, I mean, of course, I mean, this looks very similar to the traditional basket, that the Western DFC is primarily container and cement, while the Eastern DFC is mainly coal and iron steel. So this is the breakup. I mean, coal is still 30% of the Eastern DFC. Now, there has been increase in the long hauls and double stack container trains. I mean, even if you compare it with the previous year, there has been a rapid growth as far as number of long haul trains which are being run, and the double stack container trains also increasing by about 16.4%. That's the reduction in transit times. This is for the container traffic. I mean, the different terminals. We have given timings of the pre-DFC period and the post-DFC, what we are achieving now. So there have been benefits to the extent of 60%, 64%. Similarly, for the thermal powerhouses, I mean the pre-DFC and the post-DFC, if you see, I mean there have been benefits going up to 36% or 42% also for some ODPRs for the thermal power plants. So now these are the two things that we have attempted on the DFCs, that is the trucks on train and the high-speed cargo. The trucks on train, it's being run on the BRN wagons from Rewari to Palanpur, and it has been running every day with milk tankers from Mehsana and the Mehsana Dairy to Delhi. The loaded trucks come every morning, and in the evening the empty trucks are going back to Palanpur. And the high-speed cargo service with our partners Amazon, I mean that has been there, and we have done loading of about 16.12 crores this year. But this is where we look forward to. I mean, definitely there is scope for improvement and the increase as soon as we touch Bombay area. And I would like to inform that this is being targeted for July this year, that Kharba would be commissioned. JNPT connectivity would come by December, but Kharba would definitely be commissioned by July. So we hope to, and we have already started our preparation for coming up with a GCT at Kharba or New Kharba station, so that we get some facility for loading and unloading at this new station also. So this is where we look forward to, and definitely I mean, the number of trains has been going up, but I would say that the DFCs were designed for 120 trains each way. So about 240 trains on Eastern DFC, 240 trains on Western DFC. So even with the 400 trains that we are running, there ample amount of line capacity which is still available. So this is where DFCs come into picture, and we still have a lot of line capacity where all these experimentations and aggregations can be done. Otherwise, the line capacity is going waste. So I think that's where we need to look into. We need some help on the policy side, but this is where we can go ahead. So this is what we have been running. I mean, the NMGs are scale P plus 20%, where the VP is at scale P, and the JPP is going below the scale P also. So some benefits on the rate side that we need for this service on DFC. And of course, we have been trying to get consultancies so that we can encash these green points. So that would also become an effective discount for the operators. So we are running with this with the 30 NMGs, but yes, splitting of course is not permitted. I mean, but in this exists in the JPP policy that the top up at some station in between en route is possible. So that's what we are looking forward to. Of course, these are the general benefits that have been there. Now, some of the other issues have been that at present we are not really able to develop the terminals on our own. The funds for within the DFC, I mean, the terminals or any additional lines, this policy is yet to be finalized. So at present we are facing this constraint that how do we develop, apart from the GCT, how do we develop a terminal on our own within DFC. So that's one area where yes, we need some help, and of course the policy issue for the JPP kind of a service which can be introduced on DFC. Thank you.
Thank you, Shobhit. Now I request Shri Sanjay Gupta from AVG Logistics to present his views.
Good evening to all. Thanks to CETRAM for giving us opportunity to join. Regarding the cargo aggregation, we are one of the largest cargo aggregation for Indian Railways. We are associated with Indian Railways since 1995. We are specialized in FMCG goods, which is volumetric in nature, cannot be moved in the BCN wagon or freight wagon. There is a lot of business opportunities are there, like white goods, FMCG goods, e-commerce. Over a period of time, we increase the volume with railways, and our main focus on the first mile collection and second mile, last mile delivery. Both are the main thing, because any of the FMCG customers is asking for door-to-door service, where the railways has only station-to-station service, which we have given the service to customer at first mile and second mile. Now we are running a special partial train from Bangalore to Delhi on round-trip basis, and recently railway has given a train JPP, that is a timetable train which is running on time around some once a week service, and now policy has changed and it is make like some rate reduction has been given by the railways, so that it will run both way and loading. Like Bombay, Calcutta also running one JPP train, and we are trying to get backload from that train also. Thanks to railways for new policies, which are win-win situation for the industries, especially FMCG industries, e-commerce, and like they have given the multiple point deliveries. Like one train is going from Delhi to Bangalore, we can load and unload in Hyderabad and Chennai also. That is giving us the make more train we can run on this train, because we are getting multiple delivery benefit. Business development, it is sustainable, economical, and further that there is a acute shortage of driver in the market, and in future the railway business will increase, and we are talking to the multiple customer. One train can carry 4 to 5 customer material like Nestle, HUL, Amazon. One train can carry all the 5-4 customers in the business. The business hopefully increase, and we are trying to make service like every day one train from Delhi to Bangalore, Delhi to Bombay, Delhi to Calcutta. These are the major hub where we can move the traffic. So this is from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I will now request Mr. Manish Puri to please present his views.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Extremely daunting task to be the last speaker of fairly long day. Of the last session, yes. But so I will try not to come for very long between all of you and a hasty or a happy exit. But I did want to share a couple of thoughts about this whole idea of multimodalism and of increasing the share of rail containers. Is this operable? Let's see. Yeah, no, it's working. So I'm not going to take time in terms of setting the context. CMD Concor, who introduced the session, already talked about some of the same data about what is the size of the space. We do know that there is a lot of potential. I don't like to use the term balance other goods, though I am one of the possible architects of that phrase, because that causes us to lose focus on the cargo itself. This is a wide variety of cargo. We have some of the representatives of this cargo in this gathering, in the form of Amazon, in the form of some of the logistics players, and it's very important to understand that this cargo has a particular requirement which the railways will need to reinvent itself to be able to address. And I hope to end this discussion with that. But in my role as a container sector representative, it is important for me to at least talk about the wish list that we have been placing in front of the railways. And we have had a fair amount of progress. Lots of developments have happened. Most recently, we are looking at, on the terminal front, an ECRT policy which for the first time allows us to use railway terminals as intermodal exchange points. It allows stacking of containers at reasonable rates. It allows building of an aggregation of cargo in railway premises in a manner which is not very, very restrictive. And I think, on the operational side, if we are able to see more zonal and divisional offices notifying such terminals as ECRTs, the idea of a wide network where intermodal operations can happen will take place. We've also seen a very interesting recent initiative in the form of a rebate on return empty flows to promote domestic traffic. This is something that we've been talking about for a long time. Domestic traffic requires circuits to be built. Some of those circuits will have empty movements. Those empty movements are a cost to the system. If we are able to look at that cost and reduce that cost, or to even bundle that cost with the loaded movements, we will be able to attract greater volumes. If I were to summarize, in terms of what are the potential action items, terminals, we are talking about the ECRTs. It's important that more of them get notified. That's been an operational challenge on the field, as I've been told, and I hope some of the railway people sitting in the gathering will be able to take that up. The Gati Shakti terminals, which are the bigger locations, we've seen a proliferation of these terminals. Over 100 of these terminals have already been notified, I'm told. But there are a couple of problems. Somebody already mentioned this earlier in the session, that very few of the existing terminals have converted. And there's a very simple reason. This concept of requiring surrendering of all disputes with the railways in order to participate with the new policy is something, I think, which needs to be reviewed. Because disputes will happen. They are part of the process of businesses working with each other. To prevent businesses which are in difference or which are seeking clarifications to participate in new policies sometimes restricts us from benefiting from the policies. The concession periods need to be a little longer. So I think again, there was a discussion on this earlier. Daily versus short-term versus long-term. The business needs a long-term view on infrastructure. If you are able to get concessions for Gati Shakti terminals for 20, 30 years, instead of in 5-year intervals, it will help promote the terminal space. Pricing, and I'm not going to get into reduction of pricing as an industry ask, but certainly a review on the way that the pricing is carried out. There are many initiatives, there are many representations that are already with the railways. I will not go into all the details. We need to look at empty pricing. We need to look at what I call dead freight pricing, charging for the weight of the container. These kind of issues need to be looked at. I think it's time that the railways finally bit the bullet on separate CC and FAK rates. We need to be very clear that the container is not a commodity. The container is a means of transport, and it's a means of transport that allows the railways the flexibility to address multiple commodities. Having commodity-based pricing, having separate FAK pricing, having different sub-categorizations and pricing is causing problems, is causing a lot of traffic to stay away. In the long term, a discussion has been started, and I hope it does see the end of light at the end of that tunnel, to look at a rail-based pricing system. A system where the rake is priced, and what goes in the rake is left to industry, is left to the rail operators to do. Maintenance, this is, we as rail operators have been allowed to own our assets for 20 years, but we can't maintain our own assets. We have no control over quality, we have no control over timelines, we have no control over the maintenance schedules, nothing. So it is time for us to look at whether these assets can be maintained in the private sector. There are certain short-term issues, such as multiple basing of rakes, such as putting a clear timeline on when rakes are sent out for ROH and when they come back. I'm not again going to go into it. I think the big ask that we need to start looking at is, if you can trust a sector to own 750 rakes and produce 8.2 million tons of traffic, I think we can trust the sector to maintain the assets and set up a system where these assets can actually become more productive and give better returns for the sector. One more open issue before I end, which is that the MCA is up for renewal. We've been at this business for 20 years. Concor, of course, has been at it longer, but the sector as a whole, or the CTOs, have been in this business for 20 years almost. The MCA is up for renewal. None of the other policies of the Indian Railways with respect to private wagon ownership now require a license fee. Expecting that the container sector, which has invested over 10,000 crores, is also the only sector other than coal which has registered a positive growth in the last year, should now be expected to pay a license fee to participate as a partner with the railways is an unfair ask. I think we need to take away, we need to be very strongly resisting this kind of a demand, and we need to tell the railways that we are here as partners and not as licensees. I have a very strong view about it, so I'm voicing it a little strongly. Finally, before we end, I wanted to completely change track and introduce or present an idea that I have been a part of for many years. I've been working on this concept of a bimodal rail product. This is a product which has also been in discussion with the railways. We are hoping sooner rather than later that we will start a process of actually taking a design like a bimodal wagon design and bringing it onto the rail system. What this design effectively is a wagon which can also perform the functions of a truck. It is not roll-on, roll-off. It is not a full truck with the motive power sitting on top of a wagon. It is a chassis that connects with a bogie, an articulated bogie, as Nitin had mentioned in his presentation. So it's a chassis which connects with the bogie and becomes a wagon, or connects with the prime mover and becomes a truck. This is a technology which has worked globally. It's a technology that I think when we want to, so we have a separate bogie and a separate chassis which can work both as a rail cum road vehicle. We are looking to introduce this concept on the Indian Railways, primarily to address the lightweight, the manufacturing, the cargo, which can actually benefit from a seamless integration of service. And I hope we will see this. And since this whole session was about multimodalism, I thought I would present this idea. I will not take more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. I would like to now summarize the talks given by speakers. Mr. Sumit Sharda spoke about the potential in e-commerce, consumer goods, and parcel business. He also talked about reliability in operations, reasonability of costs, and very important is continuous supply of information to customers. Aggregation is very important. And he spoke about the virtual aggregator platform. And he also mentioned that technology will be a key enabler. And like he gave example of online payment of parcels, then he informed that he has been using, Amazon has been using DFC route in a big way. Mr. Bhalla spoke about the digitization and data analytics in cargo aggregation, and how we should increase the service levels, how we should optimize the costs, and how will you make your operations sustainable. These three things he focused in his talk. And he gave the example of Nestle, how digitization helped achieve these goals, these three goals. Mr. Shobhit Bhatnagar mentioned about aggregation and rapid cargo services, and he informed the connectivity of Delhi-Mumbai and Delhi-Ahmedabad cargo hubs very soon. And he gave an update on the progress of DFC and business development efforts like truck on train and high-speed cargo services. Mr. Sanjay Gupta spoke about specialization in aggregation of FMCG cargo and running parcel service between Delhi and Bangalore, which he is successfully able to bring traffic. Mr. Manish Puri in his talk spoke about the recent initiatives taken by Indian Railways in the right direction, ECRTs, concessions on empty containers in domestic traffic, and he also spoke about Gati Shakti terminals, gave suggestions on pricing, and very important thing he mentioned was rail-based pricing instead of individual container-based pricing which is being done. I also hope that if Indian Railways decide to go for rail-based pricing, then it can bring lot of FMCG cargo into its fold. Then he spoke about maintenance of rakes, and he introduced a concept of rail runner, that is a bimodal product. I have one question from the panel. What should Indian Railways do to get, I will still use the term BOG, into its fold, like FMCG and other commodities? I will request each of you to give only one suggestion from your side that Indian Railway needs to do to bring this traffic into its fold. We can start from Mr. Sumit Sharda. क्या जी? उसको we will come to you also. बस. Please, Mr. Sharda.
Thank you. As I mentioned as well, right, like reliability of operations in e-commerce parcel movements is very important. And we are looking where a single entity, because of the scattered demand, can't provide the entire 24 BPs to run a train. So how aggregation happens efficiently to ensure that there are daily run operations on high reliability. So that would be the key thing.
Reliability of operations.
Reliability of operations through, as I said, right, like accumulation in e-commerce goods is not an option because you can't run a full train after 3 days. It has to be a daily operation. So because speed, reliability matters a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Balla.
Yeah, for FMCG, you should not be comparing us with steel industry or cement industry. So one is that we are volumetric in nature, so it's very important. So rates have to be basis that, and secondly is reliability of transit time.
Okay.
So I would say that on the routes which are adjoining the DFC, sir, I think now there is surplus capacity. Even the speeds, better speeds can be achieved not only on DFC but on the IR route also, sir. So that's where we need to capture, I mean, that's the two diagonals, or sorry, the two arms of the golden quadrilateral. So that's where we should aim for business by volume, reduce the rates drastically and pick up the traffic.
Reduce the rate and use the leverage of DFC for transit.
Yes, sir.
Better transit.
Yes, sir. So we
Mr.
can
Gupta.
increase the volume by good amount, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, increase in volume is not an issue, sir, but customers, sir, two things is asking. One is the transit time and reduction in the rate, so that we may able to match the road rate. Because problem is that first mile and second mile rates are so high, railway rate मिला के वो ज़्यादा हो जाता है. So that they are requesting to reduce the, make
Rates.
it equal to road rate.
So, since I'm the last speaker, it's again an advantage. So everything that all of them said, plus the right product, and I already introduced that product, which is a bimodal product. I think that's required.
So I think panel, just 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. Panel is unanimous, and they are giving two suggestions. First is the transit assurance, and second is that rates should become reasonable, and it should be at par with road rates. This is the unanimous suggestion of the panel. Yes, sir. Now, audience, ladies and gentlemen, you can. Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, the panel has really mentioned the 2 points which are very important. But I think what is important right now for these goods to be brought to railways, there is no cargo aggregation facility. The railway has to develop to identify the circuits. Where are the circuits which are important? Which are the OD pairs which needs to be connected? And then develop the cargo aggregation centers and facilitate that aggregation. See, railways is right now depending on these different players will come and bring the goods to railways and form a rake. Whereas railways should be facilitating to aggregation and creating that infrastructure in their facility where the aggregation can happen. And I think then that is where what Mr. Sharda also mentioned is an important aspect, that you cannot offer a full capacity of a train. So when the different FMCG players and e-commerce players come together, the cargo comes together and the rake movements can take place.
To achieve the
every
parcel
day.
size of full rake,
Yeah.
aggregation is
See,
a must.
Facilitation of an aggregation, that infrastructure is not there. Infrastructure is lacking. That is my
Sir, if I can elaborate on that point, I think you give two things to the trade, that regularity of service and transit assurance. They will create everything else, sir. They will create cargo aggregation, which is less than container load into a container load. They will do consolidation, which is conversion of container of FCL into a full train load. All these facilities will be created. The problem is that we don't give them consistent supply of these two things. And that consistent supply is, as mentioned by our friend from Amazon, is that I need a daily departure. And if you leave Delhi, then on the fourth day, my delivery should take place at a 1500 kilometer terminal. If both the things happens, the industry will invest big time, sir.
That is where the question is. Is the industry saying...
No, I'm substantiating your point, but railways themselves need not create it. Railways has to give an unending supply of these two things.
Railway does not give the supply because there is no aggregation and they don't want to run empty. That is where the question is lying. What will come first?
I think more important than that is we don't have the capacity to give transit assurance.
What railways can do is, like in Concor also we do sometimes, first we identify the potential, that suppose from point A to point B, there is a potential to run 3 rakes in a week. So when we announce, initially we start with 1 or 2 rakes, but we don't insist that we will run the train only if we get 90 TEUs. So initial loss you have to bear, and for some time you have to do that, so that there is a confidence in trade that train will come what may, train will leave on this day. So then slowly, maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, they will start coming, bringing their traffic. Initial losses have to be, absorbed.
Sanjay, if I can elaborate on that.
Please.
That is the principle on which DFC has initially started this cargo service in NMGHS. There was only one wagon which started off, and then it has now started with 4. They are trying to scale it up. Basically, this I'll again agree with you. Initial step has to be taken by the industry, and that is by railways. Railway has done it, and initially when there is some encouragement required, hand-holding required, that step has to be taken. But unfortunately, that has to be continued.
Yes.
Now that is one. Second, uniformity in continuation of these policies. एक आपने JPP बना दिया, or whatever policy has been brought in, that has to be always an improvement over, but you can't say that I am reducing. This is, you want to capture this traffic, then you have to incentivize anybody who is trying to do. You can't look at his margin. Now unfortunately our total this thing is, we only are trapped in the class system of my class 130 or class P. So this classification should not be seen for capturing of new traffic. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other? Please.
I wanted to understand if there is a further, classification of BOG, or are we just treating it as one animal, and it can be handled in the same manner for the purpose of aggregation, transportation and everything? Because I am somehow, that's something which I'm not clear about. So if anybody of you can clarify.
So this question is for any particular gentleman on the panel?
Anybody?
Let me address this, because I mentioned something about this. I think it's a fair point. I don't think BOG is a commodity classification, because today BOG includes could include minerals, could include FMCG, could include liquid, all sorts of cargo, right? Tires, exactly. So, which is why I'm saying, I think we need to be very clear that for the sake of convenience, to say that there is this large amount of cargo that needs to be addressed is fair, but targeting specific commodities, targeting specific classes will require different wagon designs, will require different policy tweaks. There is a totally different thought process for light cargo.
My first question, Manish, is whether somebody has done that identification, has somebody does that classification.
So that identification exists. In fact, even the rail plan has a breakup of what consists of BOG. The point is, it has always been seen as a, how should I put it, as a residual category. So we identify 9 bulk commodities, and then we say a residual category called BOG. Now container is a separate category, and again, I don't think container is a commodity classification. It should not be treated as a commodity. It is a means of transport, right? You can carry light cargo in a container in a very different way. You can carry heavy cargo in a container in a very different way. So, no. I agree. So which is why I'm saying all you have to look at is, can you create the transit assurance for services? Can you provide a right rate for broadly lightweight cargo? Because the rating for heavy cargo on the Indian Railways, and a somewhat controversial statement, is not all that bad. Okay, the problem lies with the lightweight cargo. So if you can say that for lightweight cargo, there can be a particular rating mechanism and there is transit assurance, and I will provide reliability of service. We do not want timetabled services. You don't even necessarily need fast, because if you look at the average speed on road in India, with all the expressways and everything, the average speed on road in India is still pretty much what it is on rail, which is abysmally low for anywhere in the world, 23, 24 kilometers per hour. So we don't need to be faster than road, but we need to be as reliable as road.
On an end-to-end basis, but.
Yeah, on an end-to-end basis. The railways cannot say my reliability on transit is a wheel start to wheel stop, which is why when I talked about a product like a Rail Runner, which is an end-to-end solution, you can say that from cargo departure to cargo arrival, or from customer ownership to customer end, this is what it's going to be. And I'm not pushing the product, I'm saying end-to-end is also a requirement.
Balance other goods.
You'll have to break it up. On the wagon design front, you'll have to break it up.
No, I'm not talking about wagon design perspective. I'm just saying, like for example, you said, when you said 9 bulk commodities and 1 BOG. So I was just trying to understand, is there a reason? There may be no reason.
So I think the primary reason is, one is that it's residual, but the one reason is that the 9 bulk commodities are all essentially heavy products. Here you're targeting light. So if you can do a light pricing, some of the heavy stuff in BOG will not come to you in any case, because it doesn't come to you in any case because of volumes. Yeah, price per full rake, whatever that rake is.
So you're okay paying price per train for lighter cargo, but not for heavier cargo. But then that would put the light cargo in disadvantage, right?
That is on the assumption that you will benchmark on the basis of, and somebody said this, we cannot compare FMCG with coal and steel. So you cannot benchmark on the basis of coal and steel, right? But if you say that this is what is the road on, this is what the rate is on road, right? Plus first mile, last mile, and come up with a number, that's what you need to charge.
Any questions from this side?
Thank you.
I think we can close the session. Any question from? Please.
Good evening, sir. I second to the thought of the dais, the panel, as well as Bhanushali sir, that the most important factor which is playing is the transit time of any cargo. And for me, pricing is not that important, because the pricing which we charge currently is not as we talk about parcel business, it's not higher than the road rates as we talk about longer leads. But the most important thing is, I'll request Amazon and Nestle people that we in Indian Railways, we are starting mixed trains, where we are having our cargo as well as the passenger movement for timetabled and very reliable delivery in the time mannered fashion. So you should also come up with a strong support to this system, and your demand should be in a regular and consistent manner. That if you are demanding for 10 VPs, it should be assured that you are loading 10 VPs. And our role